Welcome to the People First podcast. And today, I've got a very lovely friend of mine joining me. Fliss, how are you?
So good.
Now, thank you so much for saying that you'd be on the People First podcast. As we know, this podcast is about people. It's about their journey. It's about things that they've achieved. It's about them. And it's the People's podcast because the people want to hear from you.
Yeah.
I've had people say, get Fliss on. And I'm like, Jonathan should say yes.
Yeah.
She's very busy.
No one wants to listen to the village idiot talk.
And that's the thing. I'm like, you know what? And I probably shouldn't have assumed. I'm like, she's so busy. And we'll get into how busy Fliss is as an individual soon. But before we move forward and before I continue to bore the audience with my voice, let's hear from you. Who are you? What are you about? Give me an overview. We're going to dive deep into a lot of these things. But if you were to give someone a quick overview in 3 minutes max, you don't have any longer. I'll cut you off. No, you have as long as you want. What would you say? Who would you say you are? How would you introduce yourself? And then where would you go from there?
So I am a mother of 3 little boys. I am a wife. I'm a friend. And I also work in the emergency services. So I love spending time talking to people and helping people and hanging out at CrossFit HF. I'm a pretty simple creature.
Yeah, well, we figured that out, and you guys will figure this out. Joking. The best thing about this conversation for me is the laughs that I know I'm going to have. One of the things that me and Fliss share is a very good sense of humor. She has an extremely good sense of humor. Now, Fliss, you are a mother of 3. What are your little boys' names, if you don't mind sharing?
So I've got Addison, who's 11. I've got Brody, who's 8, and Hamish, who is 5.
Now, you told me they're all having birthdays very soon. Whose birthday's first?
So Brody turns 9 in a couple of weeks, and then Hamish is a couple of weeks after that. So exciting times in our house.
Do you have their presents sorted?
Yes, I do, but it's very secret squirrel.
Let's not talk about it. In case they know how to operate podcasts, they will listen, and they will hear.
They are children of this millennia. They are pretty clever with technology.
Out of those 3, who's the most likely to uncover your secrets?
Ooh. They're all little sleuths. I reckon Addison, he's very observant and just quietly watches.
Yeah, so he's probably the most likely to go, I've got a way around figuring all this out without mum knowing.
Yeah.
Now, so your age again, Fliss. Did you mention that? No. How old are you?
No, 41.
41 years young.
Old duck.
What a journey that's probably been for you. I mean, 41 years around, like laps around, you know, you've done your time. Tell me though, let's go back to the first day, the first lap. The first year.
I was pretty lazy.
Yeah, I mean, you pooped a lot.
Yeah.
I heard.
Lots of eating, lots of sleeping.
Yeah, burping.
All the things I fantasize about doing now.
Which is not much different from what I see you do now. So, no. So tell me, how was your upbringing? Run us through your childhood, because one of the reasons that people enjoy these podcasts is because they get to relate through listening to where you started, what Fliss, or not what Fliss, but who Fliss was as a child, as an adolescent, and as a young adult, because we're going to get into all of that deep, but let's just run us through the first couple of years. How were you as a toddler and as a small child?
So I've got 2 sisters who are 10 years older than me, so I was well and truly the baby of the family. You know, pretty average upbringing. My family aren't great communicators. There was a lot of fighting and stuff growing up in my household. But, you know, I can't complain. I went to awesome schools, and, you know, in high school in particular, I did a lot of sports and a lot of extracurricular stuff that I think really started to shape who I was as a teenager. You know, I did Army Cadets and, you know, got to do heaps of really cool stuff and explore the outdoors and just have exposure to stuff that I had never had before. So yeah, I think, you know, it was a good and a bad childhood. As I was sort of a teenager, my sisters were in their 20s and they would let me hang out with them sometimes, go, you know, have sleepovers at their house in the city, and, you know, we'd sneak me into the pub and do all of the cheeky stuff that you do with older siblings. But yeah, I think all in all, like my dad was pretty angry guy, and we didn't really have any relationship as an adult, just as a result of him not being a particularly nice person.
So you don't have much to do with your dad at the moment?
No, so I pretty much cut ties with him when I was like 18, 19.
Okay.
And yeah, so we haven't had any relationship since then. I just, I'm a firm believer of I set my own standards, and I will put up with a lot of stuff. But I think when people cross that line continuously, I'd rather just say, you know what, there are other people in my life who I value spending time with and spending time on, and I'm not going to waste my time on this relationship that's hurting me anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Putting a full stop on some people, like put a full stop there. Like that person, let's say Fliss, full stop. Like that's enough out of that character for my life. I don't need, there's no extra parts for you. This may sound bad, but it's like, you've done all you need to do for me. Thank you. That's part of the story. That's part of the chapters that I've written in my life. Here's a full stop on that because that character isn't continuing on.
Yeah.
Obviously, like a bad soap opera, sometimes they come back.
Yeah.
From the dead. Woo. Spooky. But at the same time, for me, very similar in the fact that I've had to put some full stops on people in my life because standards.
Yeah.
You need to have them fit to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Protect your family.
Yeah.
Protect your future.
Yeah.
You can't have that person trying to rewrite or write chapters for you in the future that aren't going to serve you. So
yeah,
continue.
absolutely.
Continue. I just cut you off.
It's all good. So yeah, that was pretty much, I think my schooling was a lot to do with shaping me as a young adult, and I was really lucky that my schools encouraged you to celebrate who you were no matter what you were into. So as a result, as an 18-year-old leaving school, I was confident and I knew what I was good at, and I was encouraged to go and chase my dreams. So, I've always felt like I've had a bit of a sense of direction, and I've just slowly moved along that pathway until I've been successful. So
your relationship with your dad sort of a little bit of an angry one. It was some frustration. Do you believe a lot of that anger and frustration come from poor communication skills between the two of you, or just poor communication skills in general? Or was there because some family members, some parents can push their kids away due to the fact that they want them to go in a certain direction. They want to control them, so to speak. Like, I made you, I created you, you will do as I say, and you will go where I believe. Where did that come from? And also, how was your relationship then with your mum at the same time? Is your mum still?
Yeah. So it was, there was just a lot of fighting. So it was quite sort of toxic it wasn't fighting about anything in particular. It was just sort of more like control and pitting each other against, your siblings or your mum, or, just that sort of nastiness. And I don't really know where that came from. I think that was learned behaviour from his upbringing. And, my mum had quite a tumultuous upbringing as well. So I think my parents did the best that they could with the tools that they had. But they didn't know how to make it better.
Yeah.
So, I have tried to learn from those behaviours, but parenting is hard. Yeah. It is hard. So, I don't have any ill feelings. Like, it's just, that's how it was. And, I've tried to make myself better and, learn from the things that I was exposed to as a kid, so that I can help other people, or so that I can make my kids' childhoods better.
Well, a lot of people say, that parents can either be lessons for us to learn from, and that can be both negative and positive. And then we can either continue the cycle, if it wasn't so great, if it wasn't so positive, or we can create our own positive cycle moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things you said there, and one part that resonates with me, is that you said they did the best they could with what they had. And that's all we can really do a lot of the time. And then it might not be exactly what we need, but then we learn from that. And as an individual, you were able to pick up on all of that and create your own life for you, your husband, and your family, your kids.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned here is parenting being a challenge. I am a parent of 1. You are a parent of 3.
Yeah.
If we include Astro 4. So I wanted to go down that road a little bit with you before we get into some of the other things, is to explore it. Now, I normally ask you guys before you come on, what was kind of the biggest challenge for you because we have challenge in all areas of life: career, family, relationships, friendships, parenting, whatnot. Out of that, you did list parenting as a pretty big challenge. Do you want to run us through where you felt the challenges were and what they were, if you want to elaborate, but then also how do we fix some of those things?
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming we either have or we are.
Yeah. I think, parenting is so hard because I care so much, the stakes are so high with, I'm getting emotional. Yeah. I knew I was going to cry at some stage, so I may as well get it out of me.
Talking about your kids, it just hits a different heartstring, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've got these people that are so precious to you. You want to do the best you can for them, but at the same time, they can be little assholes.
Yes.
You want to break up with them. You're like, this isn't working. It's not me, it's you. And, they say all the horrible things and they push you to breaking point and back again. And, learning to try and regulate yourself when you are trying to help someone else learn to regulate themselves, it's just exhausting. And, day in, day out, you're trying to do the best you can for your kids. And people sort of, put all the I love being a mum and dad, it's the best thing ever. And it is, but it's also the hardest thing I've ever done. The
best thing ever, asterisks.
Yeah.
Refer to the bottom.
Yeah.
This is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Yep. And it's, you have to try and be your best self all the time. You have to try and be the calm in the storm all of the time. And it can be exhausting. You're trying to cook dinner, you're trying to, have a successful relationship with your partner, you're trying to be a friend, a daughter, and then you've got these people that need you for everything. I just think it's such a challenge that I'm constantly, I feel like I've got the hang of it, and then the goalposts move.
Yeah.
And, the dynamic of 3 children, let alone 3 boys, let alone 3 alphas, we're always having to try and break up fights and, gentle play starts off gently and then it turns into WWE within 3 minutes and someone's crying, So I just think we don't talk about how hard it is from, bringing a baby home and how much it changes you as a person and your relationship with your partner and your purpose in life and your role, all the way through to people dealing with teenagers and adults. We need to be so much more real because I think people feel isolated and they think, I'm doing everything I can. Why is this not the life that I envisaged? Why is this so hard? But everyone feels like that, and we don't talk about it.
Normalizing it rather than letting it continue on where, you have to paint this perfect picture of you and your family to the world when really you're all suffering in some way, and it's okay to suffer, like suffering happens.
Yeah.
But when you ignore it, it becomes a really big festering wound.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you and your family.
Absolutely. And I think we lose ourselves in the journey as well. We become martyrs day to day. We don't do self-care and we don't nurture relationships that fill our cup, And I think it's just such a delicate juggle trying to be successful at everything and be a mum or a dad, you know, and have beautiful kids who use their manners and, you know, don't break stuff and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's full on.
Yeah, and they contribute to the world. You don't want them to be a drain on society. You don't want them to be a drain on other people.
Yeah.
And it is challenging because as kids, you know, they're born into this world and they look up to us like, okay, now what, guys? And you're like, well, I don't think I've mastered my life yet.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to pass this stuff on? And day by day, step by step, I think we do the best we can with what we have, and hopefully we've learnt enough along the way. And if we haven't, then we are learning continually.
Yeah, absolutely.
What gets you back in line when things go off the rails at home, or when they go off the rails at work, or when you're not feeling like you should be? What are some of the things that you do that help you get back in rhythm?
So I've really, over the last couple of years, started prioritising self-care, because I just think if you don't have that little bit of time just to decompress and, you know, empty the bucket a little bit and, you know, just take a deep breath, everything is worse, you know. Just even if it's during COVID, I took to walking up and down my street. My street's 200 metres. You know, I didn't have to go on some big extravagant spa day or anything. Just walking and knowing that my kids could walk to the end of the driveway and wait 20 seconds and, you know, say, "Mum, can I have a snack?" or whatever it was. Just having that space physically and emotionally was so important to me, just to help get myself back on track. And I think, you know, some reflection about the situation, the day, the week, the month, you know, your goals, where you want to be, what you want to achieve. I think just really focusing on grounding yourself is such a powerful thing. So, yeah, I'll quite often just take the dog for a walk, or just go and sit and look at the sky, you know. If I can, go to the water. The water is such a healing place for me emotionally, just because I feel at peace.
Yeah. Did you spend a lot of time around the water as an adolescent, teenager?
No.
No?
Not really.
As an adult you've
Yeah.
connected with?
I mean, as a redhead, the outdoors and I, we have a love-hate relationship.
I mean, obviously at night. Under the moonlight. You still put 50 plus on for night skies.
Darting from shadow to shadow so I don't get third-degree burns.
Are you wearing a balaclava?
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I've discovered as an adult is just really therapeutic to me. I saw a thing yesterday on Instagram, which was the answer to most of the world's problems is salt water, sweat, tears, or the ocean.
Wow, I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. And it's so true,
Yes.
you know, you either need to get it out with some solid crying and just expel that energy and those feelings, go and sweat it out, or just go and have some, you know, some soul time by the water. And I think it's so important.
Big ocean bath solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Who helps you, Fliss? Like, along this stuff that happens, who do you turn to? We all have, I feel like we all, I mean, not all of us have this luxury. Most of us will have someone to turn to.
Yeah.
Friends, family, co-workers. Are there people in your life that you will just go, I'm not coping.
Yeah.
I need to move and I need to speak to someone.
Yeah.
Who are they?
So obviously my awesome hubby, Adam, aka Astro, he puts up with so much from me. I am just like this untamed animal, and he just puts up with all of my crazy ideas.
You mean like a giraffe?
Yeah. Straight from the Serengeti.
Yes, we got it. I love that. The Serengeti. I have an elephant on the back wall too.
Oh, do you?
Look at it.
Are you calling me an elephant?
I'm just saying they're your mates. If they know you're here, you're safe.
I mean, I do have big feet, like. That's fine. Yeah, I think, you know, he's just such a calm person. You know, he's just so grounded, and although he's not great with his words, and you know, we don't have big emotional D&Ms where we talk about our feelings and things. He's just such a rock. So, knowing that he's there no matter what's going on is a massive comfort to me. But also, I'm blessed with some really great friends and my colleagues, especially in, ambulance land. I think everyone is so emotionally intelligent and so raw and real. You can be honest with people and say, I'm having a bad day. Or, get in the ambulance and say, gosh, my kids driving me crazy, and just have a vent, and it's a safe place. People don't go, oh, she's a bad mum, she's complaining about her kids, And I think there's just such a wealth of information and knowledge and compassion from, my friends and my colleagues that they've really helped me through a lot of tough times and a lot of frustrations and sadness and things. So, yeah, I'm really lucky that I can go to a workplace and be supported like that, have a laugh, laugh through the tears and the anger, and, just have girlfriends that will get in the car and come straight away, all right, we're taking you out for coffee. Just that support network is so important, and it doesn't have to be 20 people, one.
Quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
I've always referred to. You have one person who can, that's enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be fair, if you don't have a person, my advice to those people is to have a dog.
Oh, yeah.
That dog, Missy and Pippi, that we've got, those dogs, they are, sometimes all I need, honestly, is just like a hug from that big fluffy thing.
Yeah.
And that little fluffy thing. That little fluffy thing doesn't like to be cuddled as much as the big fluffy thing.
Yeah.
We have a Groodle and a Chihuahua, so completely different sizes.
Yeah.
The little tiny thing just likes to give me a little nose bump.
Yeah.
I know you're here, Shane. Thanks for looking at me. The big one's like, cuddle me now.
Yeah. Love me.
And then, you get that cuddle, that smell, it's if you don't have someone, I would highly recommend, buying an animal that you can love just as much. So
toy poodles are where it's at. I'm telling you.
You've got a little Zoomy, a little toy poodle.
I never thought I'd be that person, but here I am.
We looked after
living
him
my
when
best
you went
toy
away.
poodle life.
Her or him? Her. That's right. We tried to breed it, but it didn't work. While you were gone, we're like,
I hope not with your Groodle.
Yeah. Didn't work. They're both girls. They're all girls. Didn't work. That's how we knew.
There's only a 47 kilo difference.
What exactly? One of the things I heard you talk about just there was your time in the ambulance service, right?
Yes.
Now, list me through your jobs in a week. Your motherhood, you do that.
Yeah.
Wifehood, is that a thing? Wifey's duties. Then you've got ambulance.
Yep.
Fireys.
Yep.
What else is there? Is there anything else? I mean, there's 4 bloody things that I have.
So I do, I've got another job as well, working as a paramedic at the football stadium and the cricket ground in the city. That's just kind of, a little bit of play money, bit of fun. If there's a concert on that I want to go see, instead of paying to go watch the concert, I go and work there and get paid to see the same concert.
Not now. This is my favourite song. Please.
Yeah.
I'll be there soon. 3.5 minutes the song goes for. Relax.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah. So I'm really lucky. Like, my jobs are not jobs. They feed my soul. I'm a bit of a hippie, so you'll hear me say cliched things like that. But I genuinely enjoy helping people. I get so much from hearing people's stories and trying to make a bad day better. And I think I'm relatively good at it. So for me to be able to have those sorts of jobs, I'm really lucky.
How many years in the ambulance service?
So 19 years, coming up to 20 years this year.
One thing I want to know, when you started it, was it your forever job? Did you start that and go, I'm going to be here forever?
I think, I never sort of was like, this is it. But I knew that that sort of job might potentially have an expiry date on it at some point, just because of the nature of it. It's you're exposing yourself to a lot of trauma, night shifts, shift work in general. It can be quite a fatiguing job, depending on what sorts of jobs the universe delivers you. Sometimes you don't have any exposure to anything bad for 15 years, and then other people have been in the job for 2 months and just have these catastrophic jobs that just break them. So for me, it was more about the passion of the human body fascinates me, and I'm not an office person, so I was so drawn by the fact that your workplace is an ambulance and you get to cruise around and, go meet a whole bunch of different people and help people and see stuff. And, Ambos are pretty fun people. Everyone likes to have a bit of a laugh.
I know a few.
Yeah.
We have like 5 that train this gym. Out of the years, we've had like 15 of them. And every one of them I relate so well. I'm like, if it wasn't for my issues with my irritable bowel syndrome and anxiety for toilets, that would be the perfect job for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
The people, exactly everything you said, helping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the way the human body is so capable and adaptive, especially in times of trauma and need.
We will never make a machine as amazing as the human body. And, it just ticks away doing its own thing.
Yeah, and because it develops and it elevates. So once you do make a machine, guess what the human body will do?
Yeah.
It will elevate again. And people just think it's not, that's not going to happen. That will happen.
Yeah.
We got this infusion of artificial intelligence, hitting us like we've never been hit with it before. And everyone going, oh, what if they take over? I'm like, you're underestimating the human being.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
Apex predators, we're doing, we do what we do and we do it well. And let's not forget, we create, yes, they're self-learning some of these things, right? But
I think
so
we
the
are our
brains.
own worst enemy, not machines.
Just resetting the camera. All right, so typical day for you, Fliss. Mm-hmm. You wake up, tell me, run me through, typical week actually, because you've got so much, a day wouldn't even cover it. Just run me through your typical day/week.
Well, it depends on what job I'm doing.
That's
I
right.
get to wear lots of different hats, so it's kind of fun. So if I am doing an ambulance shift, I start work at 6:45 and have to get 3 kids to before school care for 6:30. So that can be quite often my most stressful part of the day, trying to get children out of bed and dressed.
300 people pile up on the M4, limbs everywhere, and she's like, relax, I got my kids to the bloody daycare before 6. I can handle. I don't need any backup. I got this.
Honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but anyone who's got kids knows how you try and be Mary Poppins. All right, guys, time to get
A
up.
spoonful of sugar, let the medicine go down.
Well, you know it, you're turning into Batman going, get in the car.
It was Bane mask going, I am the darkness.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my most challenging part of the day. So parents, be rest assured, I deal with catastrophes at work all day, every day, and it's still not as stressful as getting my kids in the car and going to school. Get to work, find out who I'm working with, because I am a part-timer, so I don't have a regular partner. So that's kind of fun because I get to have the joy of working with heaps of different people and getting to know them. And yeah, it just depends on what the day is like. Some days it's, pretty chilled and you're just driving around helping people who just need maybe some social support, some advice, nothing too stressful, just generally having conversations with people and making them feel heard and trying to put them in touch with services to help them. Other days it's hectic, big medical trauma, landing helicopters, giving heaps of radio reports and trying to work out what's going on and do 15 things at once. But I think that's what really excites me about the job. You challenge yourself and you really get thrown in the deep end, and that's when you learn what you are capable of. Learning to just be confident in your own skills and take a deep breath when everything is going against you and there's so much external noise. Just learning to be calm and prioritize things. And in that, you know, you see people get better, or you see people relax and feel safe. And so that's a real privilege, you know, to provide hope and help in a hopeless and helpless situation. So yeah, that's my day with ambulance. I normally get home after everyone's in bed because we do 12-hour shifts as a minimum. And
massive. I don't know how you can concentrate with that. Because like, say you did have a physically demanding first job. Like, I'm cooked. I don't want to do another one.
Yeah.
That was in the first 6 hours. What about the next 6 hours? That seems intense.
Yeah, it can be. But I think, you know, that's where you fall back on your colleagues. You know, you learn to
have a nap in the bed and
drive
us around, chauffeur.
Just go and, you know, sit down and have, you know, eat your food, have a drink, have a laugh with your mates. You know, you've done the most catastrophic job imaginable, and somehow your colleagues manage to, you know, wrap you up in love and make you laugh.
Can I ask you, Fliss? Now, do not feel obligated to answer. And 100% we don't feel confident, safe, or whatever in this environment to do so.
Yeah.
Is there a job that just stands out for you as like, and if you're even allowed it, I don't know the ins and outs of the legalities of it all, but is there a job for you that stands out where you're like, man, I don't think I can ever forget that job. That's something that, is it?
You do this job long enough, you see all of the things, you know. I can confidently say I've seen everything that a human can experience. And, you know, some of it I'm at peace with because I know that I did everything I could and I said everything that I could say to the patient and the families. I did everything I could. You know, I tried to support my colleagues as best I could. But, you know, I think any job where it relates to you, you know, it hits close to home, I think that's always a struggle. I had a couple of jobs with kids when my youngest was 1 year old. That actually sent me off on stress leave. I get emotional talking about it because I think...
You should be. It's raw. That's why I said if only if you feel comfortable speaking about it.
Absolutely.
These aren't things that we all want to unpack for you to break down.
No.
But, you know, if you feel comfortable.
I think it's, you know, the day that I stop being affected by this stuff, I think is the day that I need to move away from the emergency services.
Yeah. You can't become that cold where it's just a matter of no emotion.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
As a good first responder, you have to have a level of compassion and emotion because people are at their absolute most vulnerable when you get to them.
And I think, you know, people are drawn to that sort of career when they're empaths, you know, they can relate to people and what they're going through. And I think, you know, going off on stress leave, it's funny because, you know, I'd been a paramedic for 15 years at that point and I had 3 kids, and that changes you as a person, you know. All of a sudden you've got these things that you're terrified, you know, are going to be taken away from you. You've got these little people who rely on you coming home every night. And I think for me, I didn't realise how affected by the jobs that I'd been exposed to I was until I turned up to work one day and I burst into tears. And I couldn't stop crying. And I was so perplexed. I was like, what's going on? I haven't even had a sick patient today. Like, maybe I'm just tired, you know. So I went and spoke to the employee assistance program and just sort of tried to work through stuff. My inspector that I spoke to was great. Went home for a couple of days, came back and was like, okay, like I'm good. I'm fine.
Let's go.
I'm ready. Like, I don't know what that was. Maybe I was just hormonal and I went to open a door that was a little bit heavier than I was expecting it to be, and it just sort of jolted my shoulder and I burst into tears again. And I was like, oh no, this is not me.
Something's going on.
Something's going on. And that was my PTSD manifesting. There was no, I'd had some bad jobs with kids a couple of weeks earlier, but it wasn't the grand losing my mind, massive, suicidal thoughts or panic attacks, it was literally, I couldn't stop crying. And so I went, you know what? I'm going to go get some help. I'm going to go speak to a psychologist, and I'm just going to process this and work out what's going on. And I think...
Well, that's powerful in itself, you actually acknowledging it and being able to do that. Not that everyone could.
Yeah. And that's it, I'm so grateful for this process that I went through, because I think it shaped me for the second half of my life. My psychologist was amazing. I was off-road for about 5 months, and I saw him twice a week, and he just got me, he sees ambos all day, every day. He knows how we work. He knows that we want to understand the intricacies of why we feel certain ways. And so he didn't even talk about any of the stuff that had sent me into his office, because he said, you're not strong enough. You can't look at it objectively. So he taught me how my brain processes information and why some things stick with me and other things don't. Why I'm not bothered by the death of one person but can't stop thinking about the death of another. Yeah. And so just this really powerful stuff that he taught me, and these tools that he gave me for, dealing with the way I was feeling and thoughts that I was having, ended up getting me to a place where I was able to come back on road. But he taught me some really fascinating stuff about, when our brain inputs information or receives information, we can either send it up to the executive part of our brain and make a smart decision and a rational decision, or it sends us down to the primitive part of our brain, which gives us a fight or flight. And he said, like any flexing of a muscle, the more you use one neural pathway, the stronger it will get. And you have anxiety and PTSD. And so any situation you're in, your brain just automatically flexes that fight or flight muscle, and you have a fight or flight response. And now you've got this little goat track going up to the executive part of your brain. We need to fix that. And he told me about a study that they did in America with an old lady who was bedbound. And they wanted to see what the secret ingredient was to changing the pathways in your brain. Like physiologically, you can see this in scans.
Yep.
And they worked out that frustration was the secret ingredient.
Wow.
So they had this lady who couldn't do anything other than sit in her bed. She still had all the marbles she was issued with. And they asked her to do several tasks every single day that frustrated her. She had to crochet. She had to do Sudoku. All these things that she was physically able to do.
Yep.
And they did a brain scan at the beginning, and they did a brain scan after she passed away. And the neural pathways to the executive part of her brain had increased significantly just by doing things that challenged her.
Wow, I love that.
And so he said, your journey out of this PTSD is to challenge yourself. Right now you're scared of everything. I wasn't even driving in the right-hand lane on roads because I was convinced a car was going to come and cross the double lines and hit me. I was having panic attacks. I was like the Terminator, analysing information when my kids were at the playground. I was terrified of everything.
Yeah.
And so he's telling me, do the things that terrify you. Do the things that frustrate you. We want to agitate your brain into doing stuff. And, he said it's not an accident. Someone who's terrified of heights goes to a lookout one time and they're terrified. But that same person goes to a lookout 100 times they're not as terrified anymore. That's not an accident that happens.
More submersive training on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exposure, right?
Yeah. And, you know, he said you just need to strengthen the executive part of your brain. You need to flex that muscle. So he asked me to seek out things that challenged myself. So I started doing stuff like, you know, going to treetops, you know, going and doing stuff at heights that made me feel nervous.
Doing burpees.
Going through the 7 stages of grief with every single workout. You know, and so for me, it really sort of molded the second part of what I'm, you know, the second chapter of my life, where I was like, okay, what am I going to do that challenges myself today? I hate running. I'm going to start running. I'm not great at strength training. I'm going to start doing strength training. You know, then one of my amazing colleagues said, come to CrossFit HF, you'll love it. And I put that off for a couple of weeks because I was so terrified.
Yeah.
And then I came and I was like, this place is awesome. This is exactly what I need.
And I'm the scariest person around. Listen to me.
So for me, like it was really empowering to go, okay, we don't need to worry about what the end result is. We just need to start falling in love with the process. And if there's something that irritates me, I know its purpose in life now. It's making me more resilient and it's making me more, you know, cool, calm and collected.
Yep.
Because I'm flexing that muscle, you know, to the executive part of my brain that's able to make cool, calm decisions. So, yeah, it's been really cool over the last few years, just seeing what I'm capable of. That's my only goal at the moment, you know, just do stuff that challenges me and see what I'm capable of.
Which probably is a perfect segue into you then becoming a fiery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a challenge.
Yeah.
19 years in the paramedic service, right?
Yeah.
40 years of age when you started, probably the process a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Sea change, like, well, I guess it is, but different services.
Yeah.
Well, from that, and thank you so much for sharing all that, Fliss. That is so powerful. And man, I'm sitting here going, keep talking.
Yeah.
Wish we had 2 hours just on all of that. That's amazing. But segueing into your next journey, chapter 2, which all that resilience training made you probably more prepared than you ever would have known. Did everything can happen in life to set you up to where you are? Yeah, it probably did.
Yeah.
And life couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. So thinking of all the other things that life could have presented to you is a waste of our energy and time here on this planet.
Yeah.
Life didn't happen that way. Life happened this way. And I need to accept and acknowledge the fact that life happened that way because it creates now.
Yeah.
When did you decide to join the Fires? What was the catalyst? Has it been a lifelong ambition?
So when I was like 18, actually it was when I was about 19, I was trying to work out if I wanted to go to the Ambos or the Fireys. And then I found out the Fireys had the beep test. And I went, screw that. I hate the beep test. I'll apply for the Ambos first. And I got in. So I was like, well, that's done and dusted. How good's that? I was in the RFS for a little bit, just having a bit of fun, you know, kicked around, didn't take it too seriously. And it sort of came about, funnily enough, after I came back from stress leave. I had 3 separate jobs that we had done with the Fireys in the space of a month where they had said to me, we're trying to get more women to become firefighters. You should apply. Like, you're the sort of chick we want. We want, you know, a tall, strong ambo. Like, that's the dream. And the first 2 times I laughed it off. And I was like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. There's no way I'm doing the beep test.
Ain't being a water fairy.
Yeah.
I do love that term. I would have that on a t-shirt.
It is the
I
best.
love it when the Ambos say that.
I play with water all day. It's hilarious.
When the Ambos that I know was speaking about you doing the phrase that, She's just sprinkling water everywhere.
Yeah.
She's such a little fairy.
They're just jealous.
Yeah, exactly. I love the...
It's cooler than sprinkling roller bandages.
I love the dynamics between the police force, the Ambos. I love when you guys get together and hack shit on each other because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the best.
We're like siblings.
Exactly. I love it.
At the end of the day, we'll all come together for the one purpose,
Well,
but
exactly
we're going
right.
to hang a
In
whole bunch of crap
between
on
it.
each other. Yeah.
And that gets you all through it, right?
Yeah.
That's the beauty. So you laughed it off the first 2 times.
Third time, I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll just investigate. And so I sort of started looking at the process, and there was a recruitment like 3 weeks later. I was like, oh crap, I'm not ready for this, but I'll just throw my hat in the ring and I'll just suss out the process. Went to a Women in Firefighting Day, which is because they're actively trying to increase the amount of women in firefighting because they are such a minority. They hold these days just so that women can test out what physically you have to be able to do. And I turned up and I was like, oh, I am like proper unprepared for this. I could probably get through, but it will be a struggle. So I threw my hat in the ring and I didn't make it through the first round. I answered all of the questions like an ambo, and that is not what they wanted.
They're looking for a fiery, not an amber. It's the wrong
So
profession.
lessons were learned. And then I just went, you know what? This is going to be a massive challenge. And what's the worst thing that happens? I get stronger and fitter and smarter because I have to practice all these aptitude tests. So I thought I'm just going to, 12 months. I'll bury in and I'll just do the work, do the best I can and see what happens. So in 2020, I then applied, and it was, I told everyone because I never thought I'd get in, but I was just there for the process. I just wanted to see how far I could get, what I was capable of. So as I made it through each round, I was like, oh crap, like this is
Getting
kind
serious.
of funny.
Yeah.
Like, how am I making it through all these rounds,
Am I meant to be in this room?
Yeah. I still to this day think that there was some sort of clerical error that led to me getting in, but, I'm just going to ride that gravy train into the station. But, like I was so focused on making sure I knew exactly what was required of me. I scoured the internet. I found people that had recently gone through the process and picked their brains apart. I stopped into all of the fire stations in the area and just put my face out there and asked questions. And, I really became obsessed with the process in a good way, just to make sure that there was no stone unturned, because I thought, if I'm going to give this a shot, I'm not going to take the piss, and I'm not going to, progress and take up a spot for someone who really wants it. So I found out on Valentine's Day last year that
Almost your
I had...
anniversary.
Yeah. It was almost 2 years for the entire recruitment process. And I received a call with an official job offer to start Easter last year. So, yeah, that's just, like, it's been a massive dream come true for me. I just think, I'm a 40-year-old, slightly overweight mother of 3, like I'm as average Joe as they come, and if you had put a whole bunch of people in a room and said, who's going to make it through, there's no way anyone would have picked me, but I just was like, I'm just going to do my best. And I think because I just completely embraced the process, and I wanted to get in, but that wasn't my end goal. My end goal was just doing the best I could. So for me, it was really amazing to flourish in that way.
Since starting your journey as a fiery, what is something that you thought you were going to enjoy but absolutely love? Like, what has exceeded your expectations? Because you know about the job, but you don't know about the job.
Yeah. I just feel like I'm at Scouts camp every day. Like, there's just so much cool stuff in the truck, so many cool toys. You know, we have to be trained to use them in an emergency, so we have to be really familiar with them. So every day we're doing training and drills and, you know, pulling stuff off and familiarising, going and playing with it. I know they don't like saying playing with it. We use the equipment on the appliance.
In a male-dominant industry, pulling things off and playing with it is probably not the terms that they run around using as much. Or maybe they do.
We utilise the equipment on the appliance. So yeah, like the academy was just amazing because I turn up and it was this really wicked place where I, as an adult and as a mother who's used to planning everything in everyone's lives, I would turn up and my entire day was just filled with cool stuff, learning cool stuff, doing cool stuff, you know. We didn't know if we were climbing 10 metres up a ladder, if we were doing, you know, confined space training or, you know, fighting fire. So there was just heaps of really cool stuff that I got to hang out. I would have paid to go and do it.
Has anything come up in the job in the opposite direction where you thought that would be cool, but it's actually a drain? Like, you're like, fuck. I don't like that part, even though I thought I might have.
I think it is definitely a different dynamic to ambulance, and just learning how different crews operate at jobs. You know, my workmates are probably sick of me saying, so in ambulance, this is what we do. What do the fire brigade do? Because I just, you know, like I don't want to miss anything because I'm assuming that I know what's going on. So yeah, I think just getting used to that different dynamic and that different way of communication and the way jobs run. And, you know, I've gone from being someone who would be confident running a job to being the rookie. You know, you sit down and you wait until someone tells you to do something. So I think, you know, that for someone as large a personality as me has definitely been, you know, a opportunity for growth.
Yeah, well, I mean, 19 years in any industry means that you're a player in that. You know, you walk in and you're like, I've got it.
Yeah.
First year on the job in a new industry means I don't even think I know how to tie my did I tie my shoes right?
Yeah.
Guys, can you just check? Are these done up right? I'm not going to stay,
Yeah.
you know, to that point going, I'm a new fish in a new pond that's the size of the ocean. And well, that's not a pond, but the ocean ponds.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And I think that's a massive testament to your fortitude, grit and determination, because a lot of that would just stop someone in their tracks and go, no way, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to being a goldfish in a shark-infested world. Like,
yeah. And I think that's, you know, learning to test the limits and see where you're at, you know, where's my weakness, where's my strength. And I've learnt to poke the weaknesses and to investigate them. And I think, like, it's kind of cool because now I feel like I'm invincible, you know? Like, I embrace my weaknesses. I'm not terrified of people finding out that I'm not good at something. I'll announce first, I'm not good at this, you know, and I'll talk about it because I think it takes away its power over us. So, yeah, and, like, it was kind of a serendipitous moment. My whole fire brigade application was held up a little bit because I had to have a conversation with a psychiatrist about my PTSD, and so I was waiting to find out if I was going to be medically cleared to be able to join, and I spoke with this guy for an hour, and he's the real deal, you know, like he's head of psychology at a very big university in New South Wales. I was like, he's going to see through my bullshit, you know. I just felt like I was exposed. I'm having to talk about this time in my life where I was raw and broken and didn't know if I was ever going to be able to go back to ambulancing. And now here I am trying to get into another job. Like, I don't want that to hang over me.
Well, why should you be punished for showing vulnerability? That seems insane to me. Like, well, thanks for showing us the side of you, but now that's going to hold you back forever. Like,
Yeah, and that's it. I think that's always the problem with stigma. People don't want to put their hand up because they're worried
labelled
how far
forever.
that stigma will go. Will that go with me for 20 years, or will this just be something that is around for a little bit? So after I spoke to the psychiatrist, I kind of had this cool moment where he sent me his official response, essentially. And he said that I was exhibiting symptoms of this phenomenon that they call post-traumatic growth.
Oh, wow.
And essentially it's a percentage of people who have PTSD go through and they actually flourish from this horrible experience and this, they become more resilient and gritty and they find more purpose in life and, they're able to use their experience to help other people. And I think that's such an important thing because knowing that there's the hope that you can go through this catastrophic time in your life where you've lost all your confidence, you feel lost, you don't have purpose, to know that you can come out the other side of that and flourish and officially, be told you are a better human being, you're more resilient and
Having gone through this.
yeah. You can come out the other side and be stronger, and you can use these bad experiences that you've got to, explore a better life for yourself. And I think that's really cool.
That's amazing to hear. Like, because a lot of people would assume that would not happen.
Yeah.
And it's this black mark on your resume of life forever.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, in this instant, the way that I've processed it, the work that I've done in and outside of my body has made me flourish and grow in all areas, but especially grit, determination.
If you can let go of the shame of your shortcomings or your, the fear that people are going to judge you, if you can lean into it and you can really own it and explore it, there's so much power in that. And yeah, I just think it's really cool, and I don't think we talk about it enough. We just go, oh, okay, everyone's got anxiety these days, whatever. We just, all soldier on. No, if we talk about it, if we talk about our triggers and we talk about our feelings and we say, I'm just feeling really anxious today, and we're open about it, I think there's so much more power in that. We can really deal with it without the shame and the stigma. It's so important.
Speaking of the importance of growth, speaking of your journey as a fiery, are there any other areas that you want, like where to next for Fliss?
This year is just about the basics for me. I just, the last 18 months have been pretty hectic. My family has, been a hamster on a wheel trying to help me fulfill my dreams and stuff. So this year is just about consistency. I'm just planning on... so this year is just about consistency for me. Just finding the joy in every day, finding things that challenge me every day. I don't have a goal, I'm going to focus on my fitness again, but I don't have a number that I want to lose on the scales. I don't have a number that I want to lift. I just want to turn up and, do the best I can with what I've got, as you always say.
Yeah, I'm literally having that conversation with a member this morning about we're not athletes. Like, yes, we're athletic and we are athletes, but no, like to the form of an athlete being paid.
Yeah.
So having these absolute goals like that all the time for some can become extremely overwhelming, knowing that I've got to get a certain time, or I'm trying to get a certain score on a workout, or I'm trying to get to a certain weight on the scale. Like, we're not preparing for a fight. We're not stepping on stage. This is just a journey and sort of an exhibition of what we're capable of doing, showing the world, showing ourselves what we're capable of doing. And it is about health and fitness.
Yeah.
And if that's the hierarchy, health and fitness first, when I get on a bike and I'm pedaling at 75, no longer does it become overwhelming that I'm not doing that at 90 like I should be or I shouldn't be, you know?
Yeah.
So what you said there, not having an absolute goal, which is fine, and it's not, you don't have to. I mean, I treat each client individually because some of my clients' goals are very important for them. It's very different for their personality traits. Some need it. Some need to have those numbers to hit.
Yeah.
Not all of us need to operate that way.
Yeah.
And so as a good personal trainer, my job is to see who needs that and give them what they need. Take away all that, overwhelm, high expectation stuff that steals from their joy of just being in an environment that is encouraging and supportive and learning to move my body and be fit and healthy.
Yeah.
I get on that bike sometimes and I'm like, Shannon, is it about watching the sweat drip off your face today? That's it. Can you show me that that's what you're capable of doing in a workout? Cool.
Yep.
Jump on there and I watch the sweat and I go, perfect.
Yeah.
Box ticked for the day.
Yeah.
Some days it is about, I want to get 150 kilo, clean. Like it is about that. But mostly it's about just feeling good on the inside.
Yeah. And that's it. For me, I don't want to worry about the end goal because I think for me that detracts from my little wins along the way. And so as long as I'm turning up and I'm just doing the best I can and I'm working hard and I'm focusing, for me it's that journey that is the most important part. That process of seeing what I'm capable of. Am I going to be able to do a muscle up in 12 months? I don't know. But it's kind of cool waiting to find out.
Exactly. And what will happen, like I said the other day, and it sounded probably a little bit worse when I said it, but you'll get what you deserve. And if you work for it, and if you show up and you do what you want to do, and that's fun. We don't, just from showing up, we don't deserve every accolade in the gym. It's just not what happens. But we have to have a conscious understanding of what we need in the time, which is right now. Maybe what we want in the future, but it doesn't have to be a definite. And there's no expectation on time. This is not a race. This is a life. It's very different to a race. And, spoiler alert, none of us are getting out alive. So why put that much focus that we actually feel worse by going to the gym and hanging out with, people at the gym? And that's like, you don't get an extra prize and you don't get an extra 3 attempts at this, this life that we just lived because you got a muscle up. There's not that much weight in it really. But if you are able to do it, you're able to put the blocks together to build the wall you need to get up and over, either literally or figuratively, then so be it. So that's what we were able to do.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of that, it's good to hear because you have pushed yourself quite hard and what is next? It's like, yes, now I want to be a police officer. It's like, oh God, another
Lord,
one.
no. That is never happening.
That's a challenging job in itself, and there's a lot that goes in that too.
Yeah,
maybe
hats
a
off to
panel beat. I mean, you could be a panel beater.
Who knows? It's an adventure. I'm here for it.
Let's talk in 2024.
Yeah.
We'll bring you back on. Let's give you a year off. What do you do to let your hair down and relax?
Just walks,
Podcast. No.
podcasts, gym, just being in the moment. I'm really focused on just that mindfulness and being appreciative of what's around us. I will quite often stop in some random patch of sunshine and just close my eyes and, do a couple of deep breaths because I think it's so therapeutic. And so for me, I don't need a long time, but just having that sort of contact with nature is really restorative for me.
If you were to have a message to the people listening, you wanted everyone to take one thing from what you've spoke about today, what would that message be?
I would say listen to that little voice inside your head that whispers your dreams to you. I don't think there's anything else more important than we can do for ourselves. I think we prioritize everyone else and we make excuses for why we haven't chased our dreams. But I think if this overweight mum of 40 40-year-old mum of 3, getting tongue-tied, can chase down a dream, of being a firefighter, which is, I still think is hilarious. There's absolutely no reason you can't achieve whatever it is that you wish you could do. Just put the wheels in motion. Fall in love with the process. Do what you can to fulfill that, because one day you might just reach it.
If someone's listening, Fliss, and they're resonating highly with what you're saying, are you happy for them to reach out and contact you?
I don't like talking to people.
No. There'll be none of that. I will block
Absolutely. I'm such an open person because I think I can learn from other people and their experiences. And, if I can encourage anyone to talk about their mental health, talk about how hard parenting is, just have a laugh and quote Simpsons, or, talk about the process of making it happen in amongst the juggle of daily life. I'm here for it,
Where would they reach you best?
CrossFit HF.
Yes. Only if you have a membership you can talk to Fliss. Do you have a social media account that they could hit you up on?
Yeah, so I'm Fliss Anne on Facebook.
FLISS?
Yes.
ANNE?
Correct.
All one word?
No, 2 words.
2 words. With that, what is it called? What's that separating thing? Separates words. Not a space, we know that.
Underscore?
Underscore.
Sounds like 2 words. 1 word.
Pigeon. Are you
Movie.
a pigeon? Underscore, right? Is it Fliss underscore N?
No, just space.
Right. Yeah, beautiful. Because
we've confused everyone.
I'll put it in the show notes. All right, Fliss. Now, I've kept you here for long enough, but I do want to thank you so much for taking the time to spend an hour and 4 minutes with me talking about your life, talking about your journey, talking about your vulnerabilities, and just being an open book, because I appreciate that, and I 100% know that everybody listening will appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being you. I think you are such a rock in this community of CrossFit HF, and, just your emotional intelligence and your realness. It's such I've said before that this place is a port in the storm, because, you read people and you fill up their bucket and you give them a safe place. And I think that is such an amazing gift that you've given all of us. And I know it can be exhausting giving yourself to people, but yeah, we're so appreciative, honestly.
So sweet. Thank you so much for saying that, Fliss. I appreciate it.
And Chloe, we love you too.
Yeah. She should join me on these podcasts. We should do another one. Thanks so much, Fliss. If you guys find it within your hearts to like, share, and comment on this blog. No, wait, what am I talking about? Podcast.
What are we doing again?
I held it together to the end. Please do so, because without you guys sharing, liking, and passing this message around, it falls upon no one's ears, and that is a disservice to mankind. Please do me a favor, send it out to friends, tag people, share it out. We appreciate that, and we will thank you. I don't know who we are, me and all my personalities. We thank you. And until next time, pardon?
I thank you also.
Until next time, guys, I will see you in the gym.